Hello everybody, this is Dan, aka Entertainmentwf. Today we're talking about conspiracy theorists. In particular, the effects on people and the conspiracy theorists. Now, why am I talking about this concern? Well, this problem, Mike. It's really a problem. That's really the matter here. It's nothing to do with validity or anything. It's strictly a problem. I'm not trying to bash the people personally, but I think the people that are gullible enough to convince themselves that these conspiracy theorists are right need to maybe learn a thing or two about what they're actually believing in versus what they're actually saying. Let me give you an example. Let's go back to 2000. There was the Y2K bug. The Y2K bug was something, well, in some aspects it was like something that did happen, but it was way blown right out of proportion by conspiracy theorists. Sure, some hardware aspects where it needed to be fixed, but they were actually pretty. They took a while to fix, but they're fixed, no problems. It was just a matter of fixing maybe some implementation here or there, which is no problem with computers, and even in 2000. But the conspiracy theorists, they thought they could blow it out of proportion, make it like the end of the world, and you can look at it in exactly the same as your 2012 situation. And most people are smart enough to realize that that stuff's all bunk. And if you talk to any expert on this, they'll tell you no evidence for such a thing. And a good example of this is the stupid Mayan calendar proposition, which actually is not even correct to begin with. The Mayans never had any recorded date for the end of the world. If you want to go look that up, I actually have a link on my page. If you're ever curious about what kind of mathematical skills these Mayans had, I actually have that on my profile, so you can look at that if you'd like. And let's just say it's it's special for the time, but in modern ages, it's nothing. Modern mathematicians, modern computer scientists, modern statisticians know their stuff way better than the Mayans could ever know. Anyway, now that's a little bit of a tangent. That was just an example. The main concern for me is that people, just in the sake of nevertheless of class or anything, are trying to convince themselves that conspiracy theorists are right and that it's their perspective to knowing something. Well, let me give you a good example. I don't like to pick on people in particular, but I had a person just the other week telling me that chili powder is the cure for cancer. Like, seriously, how can someone get? Believing in something that far-fetched is literally like me saying, let's just discard everything you have in your room, everything on your bed, and let's just say, oh, we don't have the technology to develop this, no, because we just don't believe in it. Because, the fabric on your bed, that was developed by some sort of agricultural technology at some point. I'm very sure of that. And I'm sure you can look this up in any book. And you look at this whiteboard behind me. The materials to develop it are surely not natural. The paints and synthetics that go into the development of the paints, like, because this guy right here is it's a panel board with a synthetic paints all over it, which actually looks as a nice effect though. But now back to my example, I guess. How did this person come to believing this? The primary issue here is the person was using false information. Or the person, actually I've talked to the person incorrectly can't seem to realize what inference structure, like the concept of inferences and how inferences work. Now, let's talk about conspiracy theorists. Conspiracy theorists either, I don't know, I don't want to classify people in particular conspiracy theories, but this is just the general patterns. I can't say I know everything about these kind of people. I would definitely want to say that either they're charlatans, either they're going for a benefit, and they're just strictly confusing the public to believe into their point. This is like your Deepak Chopra. This is your, I don't know, David Wilcock. Let's see, who else? David Icke, if that's how you pronounce it. I believe it's Icke. These are your folks that are either, I'm not even sure if they're even wanting to do this strictly for profit, or because they're always promoting books, they're promoting videos, they're promoting products that they don't even have any evidence to back up. Like, there's no evidence there to back these kind of claims up. And they're usually just using jargon. And all they do is naturally just pick off a tree of knowledge, and they just strip off one branch of this tree, and they extend off one little lie to make their inference structure work. All they do is just simply say, okay, here's proposition A, here's proposition B. I know my fingers look kind of funny here. And just basically connect an invisible line between A and B and call this some sort of supernatural force. Or they put some label on this to confuse the public. This is your quantum stuff that Deepak Chopra cops out all about all the time. Or this could be like your magical aliens. Or this could be your, I don't know, inside job business. I'm no way trying to denounce the materials that they're talking about. I'm in the matter of talking about straight science and factual information. Conspiracy theorists are not in the category of scientific, reasoned folk. They're people that, for sake of word, I've read a lot of people that worked in these conspiracy theories. They don't give you citations the same way a scientist would do. And sadly, some people actually do have degrees, and they're actually doing this conspiracy theory stuff. And I'm almost convinced that they have something problem with their head, or they have a problem with just the way they're doing their work, and they're poorly trained as scientists. And it's kind of a shame. Now, when we come to being convinced of conspiracy theorists, okay, so we talked about the guys that like the inference structure A to B by lying in some misconstrued way. So basically, they'll start off a talk. This is just naturally how it works. They talk about something that actually is well known, and they just all of a sudden, wait, no, this one thing is wrong. And then they go right onto a tangent onto what their agenda is. And then they pump their book through near the end. Or their video. That's naturally how they do, because they have a business here. They're not necessarily people that you want to trust when it comes to reliable information. You get your reliable information from peer-reviewed journals, editorials from peer-reviewed journals, and properly authorized and authenticated like papers on or things that are announced by people who have actually looked at the evidence and connected the dots properly. These people, the conspiracy theorists, I'm not trying to bash you anyway personally, but you need to start using some science when you're dealing with stuff like this. You're talking about very large claims about the universe. You're dealing with these reptilian folk, like your David Icke guy. You're talking about people conforming into gods, and then the Bible is true, and that Christianity is this, and blah, da, 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 2012 this. Well, let's say the world's gonna end. And then they make a bunch of money off a book. That doesn't happen. You never hear about them again until another 10 years later. Here comes another conspiracy theory, and look who's talking about it. This one fellow, and he made all of his profits off this one thing. This is the guy that you'll look at and say, okay, this guy's making a spur of the moment. He's trying to take advantage of people by lying to them directly. And this is my primary issue. They're taking and trying to cause fear between people rather than actually talking about some points and actually backing them up by facts. Like the days when 2012 was actually this conspiracy theory that actually people took seriously. Even I didn't take it seriously, but you can't really take that stuff seriously. Now, on that note, those are the two main types I seem to find. Otherwise, there's the batshit crazy ones. But I don't want to judge on which ones are the batshit crazy ones, because it's really kind of hard to draw a thin line. I'm not really trying to personally attack any of these people. It's just that you need to learn and get a better reputation. Get some qualifications under that belt. Do some actual science. And based on the actual science, bring your premises and join them with your evidence and make a proper conclusion. That's how making facts works. And that's what doing science is all about. And that's why science is has been shown repeatedly that it's the most reliable source. Not the guy saying, well, science has already shown this and shown that. No citation here, no citation there. No person's name that said they discovered this. No name that's described this. They just immediately assume that people are too gullible to realize that they're lying out of their face. They're just saying, they're blowing all their information out of their ass. I don't mean to say in any offensive way, but you need to get yourself a little bit of a higher intelligence and a better academic integrity when it comes to demonstrating and spreading information. I know way to take your profit away. I just think it's disgusting. Because I see people that I think are smart, or at least have some sort of intellect, and they're being so conned into these kind of things just because they need something to believe in. Well, it's partly on their fault, but at the same time, what's wrong with this? A lot of is wrong with this, and this is a primary concern of mine. Okay, now on that note, I want to talk about how people maybe get into these convictions where they need to be convinced by conspiracy theorists. My primary thought is that people want to be accepted into a culture and be either the black sheep or the herd. The herd naturally follows what the speaker will tell them, or something that is interesting to their personal interest, nevertheless if it's correct or not. This is the example of David Wilcox that tries to promote a lot of New Age thinking, or your David Icke, who cons himself and spreads his information to the ET fellows, the guys that like to think about these UFOs that go from outer space and stuff. Like, I don't take that stuff seriously unless you bring me some evidence. They're taking this step too far before they even think about this properly. That's just my lesson for people that just maybe don't know what they're doing. And this whole confusion is also related to this issue with religion and science, two disjoint things that actually, I would argue that they have a conflict if you actually look at it when you're dealing with facts and what religions claim as facts and what science claims as fact. These are conflicts, but when we talk about religion and science, they're disjoint things. They shouldn't need crossed. At least that's my opinion on the subject, but we can always talk about that another time. The cutting line comes from spirituality and this New Age stuff. People that think like that, you need to smarten up. That's just my lesson in the nutshell. Go learn some science. Instead of being, ooh, I'm cool, look, I'm hot on pot, you could easily have simply just said, I don't know, let's go look at this evidence, and I want to go see what actually is out there and what is actually understood. Instead of believing person X without actually any credentials or any other things, I'm not coming from an argument from authority since they're actually correct. Anyway, on that note, I want to say thank you and have yourself a beautiful day.